What is up, homies? Today we have a 1v1 between SmrtyCakes and Grass Eater. But it's not your average SmrtyCakes versus Grass Eater game, because while Grass Eater is down here as the Eggshell Blue Zerg? Electric Blue Zerg, very interesting color there. We've got SmrtyCakes playing Terran in the top left, and he seems to be the Zafir Terran. Pretty cool stuff, pretty cool stuff. Apparently he wants more gamers, so, you know, if you want to play Cosmonarchy and make SmrtyCakes' wishes come true, then you can join us in the Discord server link in our description below. Always a good time to join Cosmonarchy, join the movement, start playing a ton of RTS. SmrtyCakes going to be going for a Fulcrum opener here. He's been playing Terran versus a bunch of different Zerg players, actually. I think earlier today, as I sat down to record, well, I stand up to record these, but, you know, as I proverbially sat down to record this, I believe he was actually fighting Hamster TVZ. So, you know, that's a Class 3 versus Class 1 right there. But, you know, Hamster's been out of the game a little bit. Who knows how good SmrtyCakes' Terran has become. I guess we'll get a little sneak peek of it right now. This was played on the tourney patch, actually. So this is back in March Invitational days, sort of tail end of March. We know Smarty was going to go on to win his group versus Grass Eater and Cannoli, but he was playing Protoss in that group, right? And so this interesting little sort of practice. Like, it's useless practice in the matchup for Grass Eater because he has no Terran to fight in his group, but maybe it gives SmrtyCakes some idea of Grass Eater's level. Who knows? Who knows if there are mind games afoot? First Vulture nearly complete. The 2-Fulk is scouted by Grass as he goes ahead and thinks about dropping another structure somewhere. This is an interesting way, because there's no ramp over here, right? So his ramp's up here. I wonder why he's spreading the Kagra that direction. Pool nearly complete. Crankadow was actually in the comment section telling us that he used to put his pool in front of his other structures, but eventually he realized that it, even though it might provide a little bit of tankiness or some such, unfortunately it has a knock-on effect of getting in the way of the rallies later on in the game. So that's kind of an interesting thing, a little dynamic that our players have been discussing. That Droleth burrowing to avoid the pain of the Vulture is actually potentially useful. Obviously, the Quas are a little bit too fast for Smarty to get much abuse done, but it did slow the Vulture coming on down, trying to chase that Droleth, and he wasn't quite on the ball with it. He is making a bunch of Cyclops, waypointing a second Vulture, and his star pad is hidden in a very far away location. Second Vault will arrive, and it looks like it'll be more than enough Quas to deal with this, but maybe the Vultures can keep the Zeths inside. They're going to be there for clearing the minefield here, and that is actually a pretty good mine hit. He doesn't even stay to kill the Droleth. Maybe he thought about it and then falls away. But, yeah. So, you know, all right, SmrtyCakes' micro, not exactly winning any awards anytime soon, but it's still serviceable. He doesn't lose the Vulture, and he does kill one of the Zeths. It would be really good to get the other one, because those are more nimble units that obviously can be used to clear mines and scout around and just get a little bit of map presence. As of right now, we've got 6 Cyclops. So, you know, the star pad's usually there for a Trojan at this stage in the game. Oh my god, look at that worker queue. That could be a ministry right now. SMH, my H. So there's going to be a Zorkis with a fast Vornath as the follow-up here for Grass. He's not interested in going for an expand. He could afford it, so maybe he will end up doing that after all. He definitely needs more larva production if he's going to have this much money in the bank, but I think that maybe he's going to... No, okay, he is going to be thinking about doing it. I was debating whether or not he would. Maybe he's just going to put the hatch in the main, yeah. Adding a hatch here is great because obviously, as you can see, he still has enough for another one, but he's going to bank his money a little bit and his larva so that he can make some units out of whatever his tech emerges from. It's going to be an Ovaleth queued up, so I guess a drop is for him as well. An Antseal was made instead of a Trojan. Not quite sure what's up with that, because there's 4 Cyclops parked over here, so I guess the drop is just going to come a little bit later. And it looks like it'll be 2 Lakizilisks expand finally for Grass. I guess at the end of the day, he didn't really explode in timing there. There's no, like, a mega amount of Zor use. Maybe it's going to be a Lakiz drop. You know, the Lurker equivalent for Cosmonarchy could be a big deal. You can only fit 1 in the Ovaleth because it only has 6 transport space. That's the price you pay for having transport and some element of speed from the word go, because we don't have upgrades in the game. But yeah, it does look to me like he's going to drop at least 1 Lakiz. I don't think you really get that much done with 1 dropped. The reaction times are usually fast enough that you can clear it. Ministry completes for Smarty. He does have an Antseal here as well, and it looks like that 4 Cyclops Trojan is on the way, moving in a good direction. Okay, so with the hatch coming up here for Grass Eater and the Ministry floating down at about the same time for Smarty, our players are on even keel, but remember that Zerg can just make a bunch of workers, right? So no worries there. This Ovoleth is empty, but it is indeed scouting. Narrowly misses out on preempting that Trojan. These Larvosks are a good target, but the workers are the juicier one. It's just a question of, the fact that he's spread it out so far means he's actually going to have a faster time to react. More time to react, I should say. He hasn't noticed it yet, though. Oh, the one unload. Maybe this is a little bit preemptive here from Smarty. He goes after the Cyclops or the Larvosk after all, but it kind of feels to me like he could have done more damage doing a little bit of something different. He's going to actually fully kill that Larvosk, so that's not bad. But think about all the amount of damage he could have done to the Droleths, right? That's a brutal amount. The one Vulture coming in to see if it can maybe pick a single worker. It does, and then it is summarily executed. I don't know if Smarty even knew that was happening. He's adding so many Fulcrums back at home. Looks like he wants to just kind of monocomp Cyclops for a little bit. Smarty can get into this mood where he goes like, in this case, it's 8 Fulk Cyclops spam. And he still has his 2 Vultures. He has a third at some point he made. The one Ovoleth over here, I mean, do you want to attack that with Cyclops? I don't know that you do. The paintbrush of damage. Not quite enough. Oh, it kills 1 Mason. So, still something. But yeah, that's the danger that you can run into when Cyclops are like this. All right. Another hatch. Anti-drop Nathracores have been deployed. They'll be dispersed across the map. Looks like with 1 Spraith here as well. Remaking only hatches. I like that because obviously it gives you a lot more durability on your structures, and if you're worried about getting dropped, you don't have to worry much longer. I think these Nathracores could be a little bit more preemptive, a little bit more proactive. That one Ovoleth here clearly didn't scout too much, but it saw a massive amount of Cyclops, so perhaps he can surmise that there's some silliness that could be afoot. The anti-drop Vulture in the Lodestone. That's an interesting choice. I think you'd prefer a Goliath or 2 in here, but does he want to spare the production time? I think he just wants to make more and more Cyclops, personally. And he's probably just going to go ahead and A-move him at some point. The one Anseal is actually really important here, a second one in production, because obviously that's going to allow him to detect the Lakes. I think he saw the Zorius, but not the Lakes when he came up here, but that just means that it's a possibility, right? This Trojan's actually empty, so it's coming in for a feint, but there's no real follow-up to that, right? So I'm not quite sure what Smarty is planning here as he just masses up more and more Cyclops. Another Anseal arrives on location. This Trojan just kind of scouting around for bases in extremis, but there's nothing there for Grass. He's still on 2 base. Good worker count, lots of minerals, so could definitely be making more hatches. And he's going to go ahead and power through with 12 Zorius, by the way. And a good number of Lakes as well, looks like 9. So it's a deadly army, but it really comes down to the engagement. If you're caught slipping, your units will not survive very long. This many Cyclops will kill even Zorius, and definitely Lakes. A difference of 60 HP there. So where's the reaction time here? There's the Burrow. Good pullback from Smarty. He kills 3 Lakes with that move, and only lost the 4 Cyclops on the initial engage. Now the front line almost completely dead already. On paper, it seems like really Rokors are a good choice, but you gotta factor in, like the Cyclops will just get to a certain amount of critical mass that you need to be able to range them down or try to overwhelm them with a surround. And in both cases, the condition there was not quite met. This smaller pack could actually be overwhelmed by the Zorius. Some Hydras filter on in. They're good combat units, but they need to actually be microing. And that's not going to quite work out as the Lakes keep trying to push forward. Those Hydras serving as only a distraction. Oh, those Vestigial Mines from earlier in the game, they actually come up pretty huge there. Just interrupting the push forward. Felt like maybe the Lakes needed to pounce on this army, even though it looked really scary, because the Hydras were distracting the Cyclops in the meanwhile. That would have killed a lot of the army and allowed the reset to come on in. Grass actually pulls back. You can see, like, no, what you actually want to do is launch forward. Maybe missed out on a couple of opportunities to get more done. I love teching into Gorgs at this point, the Gorger cores, the flying Ultralisk, as some people have called it before. The Gorg is a great unit for this particular use case because it's tankier than the Naths. It stays on top of the enemy, deals splash damage itself, and the Cyclops will splash each other as well. I do think that Grass could have maybe tried to set up for a bit of a surround yet again. His Gorgs are out. They need to actually get onto the field. You can see he's trying to actually hit his targets here using the Really Rokors to ensnare. This is looking like a really nice situation for Grass Eater. He's going to pounce on the top spoke of the army. This one is left mostly unmolested, but it does kind of feel like the Zerg are going to be able to overwhelm. They were a little bit out of sync with each other at that point, but still, it's going to be a good amount A friendly fire dealt with. These Hydras are all clumped up, though. That could be a really big mistake from Grass Eater at the moment that he needed to be all in on the focus. He still has a bunch of units over here that he needs to get into the fight, and he's not currently doing it. That feels like a missed opportunity. He could have just completely quashed this and still had units left over. But instead, the monocomp continues to move. That hatch is not going to get canceled. It actually finishes up as I say that sentence, but there's more Cyclops on the way. Remember, 8 of them are being trained every rotation, although right now it seems that only 4 of them are in production. But conceptually speaking, 8 could be made. The ant seal count rising as well. Looks like Grass is just going to allow this hatch to be destroyed. He has some, confidence that this is a very all-in push from Smarty, I think. So maybe he doesn't, but I would be thinking in this situation, okay, my opponent has gone so all in on the attack, so all in on the attempt at victory through monocomp, that he probably doesn't have another base, Especially if I'd been able to scout 8 Fulcrum, you know what I mean? So we do have a bunch of Gorgs. Could use some more. Gas pretty low here for Grass. He's going to dive under this ant seal, and he will end up getting the kill, it looks like. Oh, narrowly almost escaped there. Margins are very, very tight. Only 5 Gorgs is not really a great number here, especially since the Zoryus and the Gorgs are getting splashed together right now. You saw a big explosion of the Rilla Road cores. Yeah, all the Gorgs are going to die. They try to paintbrush the damage onto the Cyclops. It's a good tactic. Reinforcements getting cleaned up by the Zoryus. You can see the dynamic, right? If the Cyclops count isn't overpowering, the Zoryus can definitely win the matchup, but there becomes a point where Smarty just has too many. Is that point actually reached? It feels like yes, because the HP of the Zoryus is a little bit low. But that being said, reinforcements come in. They will clean it up. The limits of the Cyclops are showing themselves, and it looks to me like Grass Eater has held this attack. Now, will he be able to get to the next phase? I mean, a treasury has been landed, some gas is being harvested. Looks like that might be the limiting factor for our Terran player. Smarty hasn't kept any ridges because he knows that would be a loss in tempo, and he needs to win with pure Cyclops. He's actually added some Goliaths, some cracks in the armor. The Psyche, when you see any unit other than the monocomp, when the monocomp has been all he's been making for a good portion of the game, that should make you smile a little bit if you're in Grass Eater's shoes, right? You've done some nice work to get him to crack there and make something other than Cyclops. That being said, though, that was a really good dynamic from Smarty. And really, I guess it wasn't much control from him that had the feeling. He is dodging the Cyclops shots pretty well, but Grass Eater was in a line, and, the one Gorg was being attacked, but then his Zoryus came in behind it, and they took so much damage, many of them almost dying, just from that alone. Looks like an expansion is on the way. Trojan not actually taken out, so I guess a later drop could actually be a factor later on. We still have a couple of Nathicores. I like the idea of going after the ant seals with the Naths, because the Cyclops will obviously deal splash damage to them and render their shields infallible. Or I guess fallible, invalid. Now here comes another attack, but again, there's so much chance damage that's happening over here because the split is non-existent. Grass Eater walking up in a line. He still is able to try to crack on through, and now SmrtyCakes is going to have to fall back. Some vultures have been made. Try to get some mines out there. Got to watch out for that because ground units will trip the mines, but the mines will stun air units as well. Very, very deadly position there. Ant seals are pretty good to add into the monocomp. I keep calling it a monocomp, but obviously there's other units being made here, including the ant seal. But they're a good support unit for the mainstay army if you're going Cyclops heavy, because their shielding does work on the Cyclops damage as well. Now here comes a big flank from Grass. The little flank there, it wasn't even a full surround, but it was so impactful because the Cyclops were busy shooting the Zoryus, and the Gorgs came in entirely unperturbed. Most of them are even going to go ahead and survive this engagement here and start attacking the ant seals, which they're not going to die, but still, it's a good move there nonetheless. Some mines will go ahead and get detonated here, actually preemptively by the Cyclops splash, so he won't be able to stun his enemy's Gorgs with the process. I don't think Grass has too much potential with continuing to push forward here. It feels like Smarty is going to be able to hold. I love trying to use any mines that are left over and try to go for that surround. Makes a lot of sense. He's got more units kind of streaming in, but it just feels like it's a little bit too little. That being said, he actually overwhelms. I mean, in small numbers, the Cyclops do not deal with the Zoryus, and now he's got a Goliath in that lodestone, and he's got one Watchdog in the mineral line, but it feels like this is a potential distraction here that Smarty can ill afford. Will he send any units over? Remember, them attacking the Watchdog, they deal friendly fire. They're munching on those Masons, and now he's going to fall away. Similar setup over here, actually, but the Watchdog is out of range for most of it. He's continuing to see a couple of units sent in. Oh, unfortunately, that Gorg goes down. I guess maybe those two Goliaths that were made earlier, I mean, there's another one out, but they were earmarked for anti-air defense, and that makes a lot of sense. Anchor and Lodestone, but nothing in either right now, so a little bit of a funny maneuver there, just trying to use the aura of the Terran defensive structures. Players will assume that they're staffed sometimes when they are not. Especially at expansions. It feels like the third base is hilariously common for that for Terran, to build the defenses but not staff them. Now here comes another push from Smarty. He is going to break through, but his Cyclops actually kill an Ant Seal. And a lot of these are bruised from previous attack. Now here comes the Gorgs, and the Cyclops, oh my god, they kill almost every single Ant Seal. There's only one left with 9 health. Liable to go down any minute, there it is. And without them, it feels like this push is a lot more brittle, and reinforcing Zorius will easily overpower the few remaining Cyclops. Wow, okay, it's been a... Listen, you can't fault this game for its action amount. Maybe you can say there's too much action, actually. That's the way that you could try to poke holes in it for this particular match. The players have definitely been just sort of sending attacks at each other, A move, A move. So Goliaths are coming out, but I feel like at this point it's actually much too little, much too late. The one saving grace here is that Grass Eater obviously has a worse eco than his opponent, right? The saturated third base is definitely going to make a big difference here. That one not even halfway complete for Grass, and his main base is depleted. His natural will soon follow. Perhaps that alone will be the inflection point that Smarty can use to win the game, but he's not microing his army, and if you don't micro the Cyclops, they will die to themselves, as you can see. He was back at home thinking about what else he wants to make. Another treasury has begun. Looks like it's earmarked for one of these other side bases. And it looks like it's going to be a 4 Cyclops drop from that Trojan. We'll see where he wants to go with it. Back at home, not really much of a purpose to making additional workers right now because Grass Eater has a depleted main and a soon-to-be depleted natural. Really, he's been in the need of military units for so long. That one little Cyclops at the end there, at the extremis of the army, really important for Smarty so that the Gorgs didn't just get on top of his whole stack. A little bit of micro here, but now he's pinned into a wall. That is not going to work out at all. He is gone. That army is absolutely deleted. He preemptively dropped over here, but there's nothing over here. That might fill him with a little bit of confidence. The problem is, we got Quaz here, and Nats for that matter. 11 HP. Well, they're just going to go after it. There goes the Trojan, finally taken out. Big army moving up here for Grass, but he's not quite paying too much attention to it. They come in from the top rope, but the Cyclops have already wounded a lot of those Gorgs, so no worries there. This army is not going to be successful in killing the Terran either. And actually, this one Cyclops has somehow managed to find some value here. He's also about to kill himself. Yeah, there you go. I was going to say. Well, I think maybe the dust is finally going to settle a little bit. There's not really that much else going on. We can see the fireworks as one Zorius dies, but it pays for itself by killing 3 goddamn Cyclops. Acestus at the ramp. Third base starting to get saturated here for Grass Eater. He decided not to bother resaturating this base, which makes sense. Still not a single gas cap for the ridges. A little bit surprising. But we do see Smarty triple saturate. And triple saturation makes a lot of sense, so... especially if he was so gas-gated early. Now he can go ahead and drop tier 2. Does he want to maybe make mantles and start making only Ramses? That's the successor to the Cyclops in many ways. He does have a nice spot there. Looks like Grass Eater trying to go for a 4th base. It's pivoted into Zethra-cores. I don't hate it because you can try to go for a surround as well, but this is the same kind of dynamic as Grass Eater running at him in a line. You know, you do initial damage to the Zets, and then the Zorius gets splashed as a result. Need to try to come at him from multiple angles. That's the main weakness of the Cyclops comp. 4th base potentially on the way here for Grass as soon as he remembers to drop it. There we go. A single Cyclops is dispatched over there. Is it on attack move? Okay, this Cyclops will die to itself, but at least on the map it'll be revealed. He's going to run up and kill the 3rd base, actually. That's a really big deal. No defenses over here, really, and so he's going to lose a lot of workers for it. Looks like somehow that Cyclops is the magic distance away from the hatch up there at the 4th base that it won't matter. Oh, he kills so many extra workers there as the Gorgs fought him on top of it. I thought for sure the Cyclops was going to be too close and it would die to the splash. It's a big stack of Cyclops. Smarty has regained his psychological edge. He is not making Goliaths. Not making tier 2. That little line of damage there, not quite facilitating another Zorius death, but certainly cowing them. Extra Rocors are helping out with the damage distribution for Grass. He's going to come at him with the same line. Is it going to be enough? He's got so many Gorgorcores. Feels like he might be able to actually make it happen. The kite back is good from Smarty. He's not ensnared. Still 8 Gorgs, though. I guess there's many more Cyclops where that came from. Yeah, Grass is probably like, God damn, how many Cyclops do you have? The answer is many. Not really that many resources being harvested from that 4th base for Smarty, but obviously he sent another round of Cyclops over here to clear this. Looks like a larva or something just splashed the Cyclops to death, so the one who discovered it is no longer there. Great map control from Smarty. He's got so many expendable units, might as well cover every single location. He needs to sync this 14 Cyclops squad back up with the rest of his army, I think, anyway, so that he can really make some magic happen. But he could also just dispatch them to the 3rd base. Maybe distract some of these Gorgs. It's Zeth Zoryus, says the rest of the comp, but I don't think this is actually going to be a great engage here for Grass Eater. Maybe he really has run dry when it comes to that very, very important factor of the resources depleting. It does not look to me like he's got nearly enough to hold this. These ones are just on regular move, it looks like. He's not actually doing too much here with it. A couple of workers will go down at the tail end, but this is a deadlier amount. This is like a Cyclops drop without the drop part. He just ran in. He's going to kill a couple more workers. I mean, again, this is a depleted base. This one matters way more. If this gets shut down, Grass Eater's in a lot of trouble. Effectively on, like, a little over 2 bases of income right now, despite having 3. Looks like Goliaths have been decided to be added in. Just a little bit more of a steady force, you know? See if he can't do it that way. He's lifting off a treasury despite having only 3 Masons at that base, so that's very funny. A lot of Gorg. It's basically Gorg only for Grass Eater right now. He's finally adding a ski-backed scab. People have probably been yelling at the screen for Grass Eater to make Bactylisks this whole time. Definitely an option versus Cyclops spam. But with 12 Gorgacores on the way and nothing in these Anchor or Lodestone, this base is sure to fall. But that might still be the go signal, right? Surely Grass Eater does not have nearly enough. The Mason pull is pretty fast. He's going to go to his defensive position there. His rally point with the Cyclops is coming out. He's going to try to cow the Gorgs away. But yeah, I think the A move comes out now, and there's just nothing that Grass Eater has back at home. He needs to pull these Gorgs out of here and get to safety. 14 of them, and the count is going to fall. I mean, he's done a lot of damage to the worker count, but he does not have any Bactyls yet left, or at all. Hasn't made any. The Hydras are just exploding left, right, and center. A couple of units over here are going to slow the push a little bit, but not enough for it to matter. More Zoryus, more Hydras on the way. The Gorgs are now flying back. There's 12 of them. They have reduced the worker count massively for Smarty, but I just feel like he's hit a critical mass of units, you know? Like, there's not enough combat units here. These eggs are dying on the vine. I guess maybe he can try to route him from the natural, but these workers aren't mining. Only 2 Cyclops left over there. He could actually unburrow and start mining again with some safety. Oh, unfortunately, some of those units were on a rally instead of really doing much. Maybe he can make magic happen with his Gorg count. Maybe there's still some play left in this one. Feels like Smarty has a really good advantage, but is he going to capitalize on it? He strings out his army a little bit longer. Oh, the splash damage is working wonders for him. And there falls every single Gorgacor just about. We even have some reinforcements to finish the job. And at the end, he has 3 Goliaths and 15 Cyclops. Sure, the count is going to hurt a little bit here. 4 Lake is on the way. That's probably the last stand for Grass. Man, he's really run dry on military. His opponent has hardly made a single Mason since the kill, and now, yeah, he just queued up 6 more Cyclops. The first Lake is falls. There was only 4 of them queued up. See a ridge cap fall. Brings a tear to my eye. This Hatcherosk did end up dying. 1 Lake is will hatch over here. It's mass workers. Maybe he can try to use the workers in a desperate bid to clear the board. No, he's actually trying to evacuate them, it looks like, instead of use them against his opponent. That's a lot of dead workers for sure, but I guess it's a distraction. He's trying to run them away so that he can make some more units. And no, he doesn't have much. That's it. GG. 24 minutes of a Cyclops monocomp just about, with some help with Goliaths and Antseals, of course, especially at the end there. And that is what leaves Grass Eater in the dust. For a while, I thought, Smarty was just going to run him over. Grass had a really nice parry, riposte, and then almost got the dub. But like when he decided to move out to attack the undefended bases or under-defended bases of SmrtyCakes with his Gorgs, he left himself wide open for a counter push with all of those units. And so, thus ends our tale of the Cyclops. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tomorrow, another video for Cosmonarchy, so subscribe and stay tuned. See you then.